We are moving. I want you guys to guess what apartment I went through with, and if you get it, I'm going to be giving you 50 Canadian dollars. Whew. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here or this is your first time of seeing my face, hi, my name is Oyindamala. I am a Nigerian YouTuber based in Ontario, Canada. I create content around lifestyle vlogs, beauty content, now motherhood, and every little thing in between, just everything about my life here in Canada. And today's video, guess what? We are moving. Yeah, so this is officially the apartment hunting vlog. I think that's what I'm going to name this vlog. Yes, apartment hunting. So if you're looking to rent houses in Kitchener or Waterloo, then this video is for you. Or you just want to see what apartments are like in Kitchener, also this video is for you. Three certain things I want to discuss in this video. Number one is why am I moving out, and number two is what are the criteria that I'm looking for in every apartment, and number three, the tips and tricks that you can use if you also want to get a new apartment. So now that is out of the way, number one is what am I looking for? First of all, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I currently stay in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So every time I have guests come in, they use my main bathroom, which, it's kind of weird, maybe. So I really want like a 2-bedroom, a 2-bath, and I want the master's bedroom to have the bathroom and suites. And then I have 1 bathroom for my guests or, anybody that needs to use the restroom. So 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So we're going to be checking a couple of apartments. Okay, so this video, I've checked apartments already. So we're just going to be, looking through those apartments today. As I was saying, what am I looking for? A 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I need an apartment with good lighting, obviously, because I'm a content creator and then I have a baby. I just want my baby to, to experience more natural lighting. So I was currently staying in the basement, which was pretty much large, but I just wanted to move into an upper level and obviously have 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. Another thing I'm looking for is an apartment that has ensuite dryer and a washer. So when I first moved into Canada, that's about 2 years ago, the apartment was amazing. It was on a high floor. Washer and dryer was on another floor. Like for example, let's say I was on the 20th floor. If I want to wash my clothes or dry them, I have to go all the way to the 15th floor to do that. So I really want an apartment that has the ensuite dryer and washer inside, so I don't have to, step out before I get my clothes washed. 3, I think we're in number 3, right? I'm actually looking for an apartment that the kitchen has an island there. And if it doesn't have an island, I'm going to buy an island there. I want a spacious living room as well. So yeah. Fourthly, I want my bedroom to have a walk-in closet or a spacious closet, because where I'm staying right now, the closet is so tiny, I can hardly fit in my clothes in there. So I want an apartment that has a spacious clothing for myself, my husband, and my kid. Okay. Number 4 is having a spacious closet or a walk-in closet, if I'm lucky. Then the 5th one, in fact, I think this should have been my number 1. The 5th one should be an apartment that has a balcony. Yes, a few months during the summer in Canada, but trust me, those few months, I want to step out of my balcony, take in some fresh air, and just look around. So I really want an apartment that has a balcony. Okay, that's a must. Now moving on to the criteria, I really want the house to be like a corner unit, because once you have a corner unit, you have a lot of lighting coming in from the back of the building, from the side of the building, or the front. So you kind of get lucky. You have double windows. So I'm looking for an apartment that is a corner unit and has large windows. And I'm kind of just looking for like a condominium apartment, where you see more people. I mean, house areas are so boring actually. So I'm looking for a condominium apartment, and I'm also looking for one that has different amenities like, like a gym. I'm also looking for an apartment that has a party room, like if you want to have games night with your friends or you want to throw a birthday party, there's a party room included in that. So, That's a plus. Also, I really want the rent to have parking included. Yeah. I don't want to pay for parking separate. I don't want a building where there's no parking. So there has to be a parking. And it's also going to be a plus if the parking is underground, because I've always wanted an underground parking. That's because of when it starts to snow, you don't have to start dusting the snow off your car before heading to work in the morning. Your car engine is fine and warm on the ground. So yeah, underground parking is a must and it must be included in the rent. Lastly, obviously the apartment has to have modern finishing. I don't want an apartment that was built in the 90s. Okay, I think I'm exaggerating. So I don't want an apartment that was built like 10 years ago, 8 years ago. So I'm looking for like a more new apartment that was built maybe in the last 3 years, maybe 3 to 1 year. Yeah. So I'm looking for an apartment that has modern finishing. I really do want an apartment that everything is white. I don't want an apartment that has different colors, dark blue or whatever. I want an apartment that is white. And I actually want my cabinets in my kitchen to be white. Am I that crazy? No. I know I have a baby that's probably going to stain those white walls, but no. I want a white apartment. So, I think I checked like a couple of apartments. In fact, a lot. I can't even count. So there were some crazy things I was seeing. Some houses with bad finishing. I even saw a house that was behind a burial ground. I know some people might think that there's nothing weird about that, but no, not for me. I have a baby, and I don't think I want to stay in an apartment that has burial ground behind it. I mean, that apartment was fantastic. It was very spacious, a lot of natural lighting, and so, but that wasn't for me. So I'm going to show you a couple of other apartments in this video, so just make sure to stick around. So the first apartment we checked was located on Wellington Street South. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and it was going for $2,200 per month. I mean, the place was in a prime location, and I was really looking forward to seeing what the space looks like. You had a nice environment. I was already in love with that. It also had like a nice foyer. I think there were about 40 floors, but the only downside was the rooms were pretty small. Although you do get a great view of downtown Kitchener, the closet space was also very small. The bathroom, like the insert bathroom for the master's bedroom, was really nice. The owner of the apartment was actually the one that was giving us a tour, and he said that he had to renovate the bathroom, to have all these black marble tiles, whatever they call it, but it really looks so nice, and I feel like it looks very masculine. Yeah, and it had like big mirrors. The kitchen on the other side was too small, like it was very tiny. The fridge looks like it has like limited space. It was tiny. The cabinet spaces are also not enough, although all the appliances are pretty much new and the apartment has never been lived in before. Another thing about the living room area was opposite that there was Google Office that you can actually view, and it looks so pretty at night. And the second bedroom was really small. I mean, it was actually tinier than the master's bedroom. A way smaller closet. I mean, I don't even know how a bed frame can actually fit in there. And close to the walkway was the guest bathroom, which also had the black marble finish. It looks really nice. It's obviously smaller than the one in the master bedroom. And right next to the washroom was the washer and dryer. And there was also like a closet where you can hang in your jacket, during the winter. Overall, I love the space. I love the views, but it was just too small for me. Finished checking the place. In fact, the place is opposite Google Office. And I don't know. The only issue I have with this place is that the houses, like the rooms, are small. So this is the one we just finished checking. You see how high it is? Like, it has like 40 floors. This is so high. Now, the second apartment we checked out more amenities. This was in Prince Albert Boulevard, and it was going for $2,300 per month, and this was just for the rent alone. The parking was separate, and I think the eat was also separate. So the first room we checked was the guest room. I mean, the closet space in here was pretty much bigger than the previous house. Opposite there was the bathroom, which was pretty much bright. I think some people have lived in here before, so it was a little bit dirty, but I think it was obviously cleaned before we came for the viewing. This is where you hang in your jacket, which is a bit small. Then moving into the living room area, I mean, it had large windows. The kitchen area was small. There was no island there. Now the master's bedroom was a little bit disappointing. It wasn't so big. Even the closet space in here was smaller than the guest room, and I was wondering why that was. The restroom was pretty much basic. It was en suite. The only plus side about this unit was the balcony. It was really bright and it was like a corner unit, so you could walk around the apartment, and there were amenities in here, which was the gym, which was a plus. Okay, now apartment 3 was my favorite. This was located in River Trail Avenue and it was going for 2600. I mean, this apartment was pretty much expensive, but it had all the amenities that you can think of. It had a gym, a meeting room area where you can also walk. It also had like a party room, and going to the first apartment we checked, this was already furnished because it was for viewing, and it had a suit washer and dryer as well. One thing about this apartment was it had a lot of storage spaces. The bathroom was also, very exquisite. There was enough storage, spaces in here. It also had a walk-in closet. There are 2 walk-in closets inside this apartment. The bedroom was, a bit small, but it was, it had a balcony, and the second bedroom was, almost the same size with the first one. Also had a walk-in closet. Like, I love walk-in closets, and the bathroom was quite bright and looked so very spacious. I mean, the kitchen had extra storage spaces. There was like a pantry where you could put in your grocery and whatsoever. I mean, we also went to see the parking spaces underground, and they also had storage spaces. Like, I really love this place so much. Now moving on into apartment 4. This was located on Ottawa Street in Kitchener. This was going for 2100. This was inclusive of parking. Heat and hydro was not included. So this was the main bedroom, and the closet was quite spacious. I really love the doors that goes into the closet. And going into the second room, the size was pretty much the same, just a bit smaller. Same closet design, a little bit spacious. And then the washroom for the guest room was, was close to the entrance, which I really liked. It had a bathtub and it was a little bit spacious. Also around the entrance was the laundry room. I like that the laundry room was, close to the door, so you don't need to hear the noises when you're washing. And I think the engine room was also in there, and you still have some spaces to put some things. Opposite the entrance, you then have your little jacket room, and into the living room area. Unfortunately, this apartment did not have an island, because I really love this apartment as well. I love the double windows in here, and this was also a corner unit. It also had a balcony, which I didn't film, which was pretty long. The kitchen was really nice. I love the white cabinet. I mean, this apartment, no one has ever lived in there, and all the appliances were pretty much new. I was just trying to inspect to see if there were any stains anywhere, but you could tell that everything was new. Apartment 5 was one of my favorite. This was on Vickmont Drive, and it did have a walk-in closet, and it was $22.50, and it didn't have parking included. I don't know why. I think parking was $150 per month extra, and you also had to pay for utilities separate. I love the kitchen design. I think I was able to check about 3 apartments in this building, and this was just like a different design, and I think this was like an Airbnb, so there were already furnitures in there. This was the bedroom 1, which the previous person was using as like an office. It had like a funny shape, I think like a V shape or something, but it was pretty, a bit spacious. The living room too was nice. It had double windows, and you also get a view of the main road. You can see like cars passing by. I didn't really like the balcony here because it looked like it was, a bit rickety. Now going into the main bedroom, not so much space to work with. It's not so bad. And he also had a nice walk-in closet, which was, a bit spacious. The bathroom was, the lighting there was not really my thing, and I've always wanted a walk-in shower. I'm not really a fan of a tub either, but everything was looking good and in place. Right near the entrance of the apartment, we have the washer and dryer, and right next to the entrance you have in your courtroom. This was pretty large than anything I've seen. It had 2 doors and it was a nice apartment. Okay, so apartment 6 was like a stack house in an upcoming new neighborhood going for 2350. It had such an amazing view. You could see that the windows were really large from top to bottom, and the bathroom was, pretty nice looking as well. It was large. I love the walk-in shower, the standing shower, and he also had like a small walk-in closet. You can do something with that space. So the views here were amazing. You can see how the sunlight was coming in here. The only downside here was this was not close to any bus stop. It wasn't in a prime location. Don't get me wrong, the neighborhood was pretty nice, pretty quiet, but before you can see the next bus stop or the next coffee shop or grocery store, I felt like you're going to have to drive a distance. And next to this room, I think this was the engine room, which you could also keep some tiny things in here. Close to that was also the washer and dryer. I loved how this washer and dryer was looking. This apartment had a lot of storage spaces. I think there was a pantry in the kitchen. The guest bathroom was, had a tub in it and it looked so nice. Now, the apartment had like an open kitchen. It was in the living room. It had an island, so many cabinet spaces. I was so in love with this kitchen. Okay, I love this apartment. The second to the last apartment was kind of similar to the first apartment we checked. This was going for 2250. I loved this space. You also have a nice view of downtown Kitchener. The only downside again was the size of the bedrooms. I don't know why they keep making houses with small bedrooms in like a nice looking place. Close to the entrance was obviously the washer and dryer, and where you keep your courtroom had like a sliding door, which I really didn't like. Okay, the kitchen was pretty much okay. White cabinets, all the appliances were looking new. I think somebody had previously lived in here but had moved out and cleaned the apartment. Like, it was really clean. You can't even tell somebody was living here prior. Obviously, this kitchen was an open kitchen. It was directly close to the living room, and the living room was pretty small. Again, with the views here have always been amazing on Wellington Street because you get all the view of downtown Kitchener. This was like, I was in love with it. I didn't like the pillar that was in the master's bedroom. I felt like that would give you like limited space to work with. Going into the bathroom, like, I was kind of disappointed. It was really small and all squeezed together. Like, in the walk-in shower and the toilet was very close. I really love the windows in here because you barely see windows inside the toilet here in Kitchener. And again, with the amazing views, the skyscrapers. The building also had a lot of amenities. There was like a bowling area, a tennis court, a swimming pool, a party area, a gym, you name it. Like, it really had everything in it. And I was really pretty close. I don't want to tell you guys whether I went with this place or not. I want you guys to guess in the comment section. Now, our 8th and final apartment was in South Creek Drive around Kitchener Waterloo, going for 2150. I actually checked 3 types of units in here, which I'm going to show you, all under apartment 8. This was pretty nice. Like, I really love this place. This was like on a normal level, and this was the master's bedroom, which was, it was okay. There was a large windows. In fact, there were double windows In the bedroom, a normal sized closet. It was pretty small, but I mean, it's still better than some that I've seen. And this is the guest bedroom, the guest bathroom rather. The guest bathroom and the master's bathroom were pretty much the same thing. And we had to check the second unit, which was directly below this. This was more like a basement unit. I know I didn't want to come to a basement, but this place was so large and it was just $50 more expensive. But you get these little windows up there, which I was really trying to avoid. But the living room area was so big, like you get like a lot of space to work with. Although this wasn't like, I feel like the landlord hasn't finished like preparing this place because the lights wasn't working. Nothing was working in here. They haven't even installed the washer, dryer, and the fridge. But this was larger than the one we saw upstairs because this was like a basement unit. I really was thinking of moving into another basement. I really don't want you guys to guess what the apartment I went with, but you can see that this bathroom looks a little bit bigger than the one we checked upstairs. The size was pretty decent. I mean, it's one of the largest rooms and living rooms that I have seen so far. So I really want you guys to guess which one I went with. I was really particular on finding a very big space. Going to the third apartment in here, this was like on a higher level. So the first thing you see is like a stairway that takes you all the way upstairs, and this was another $50 more expensive than the previous one we checked. So this one had the guest toilet showing first, and you have the living room on one floor, then you have your bedroom on another floor. So it was more like a 2-story building ish, and the closet spaces was large as well. I think somebody was currently staying in here on like a short-term lease, so I was able to see the sizing of how the furniture was going to look. I know you can pretty see that this was obviously, I think for this video, this is actually the largest apartment that I've shown in this video so far. The only downside was I really did not want staircase in my apartment because I have a baby who is not walking yet, because I feel like the stairs is going to be like a very big hazard. So this is the living room, and it was pretty big, an open kitchen as well. And that's pretty much all the apartment I checked in this video. Like I said, the first thing you see is the stairway here, which I was really trying to avoid. The stairway was very close to the door. That's the first thing you see. And yes, that's all the apartments I went to view. I want you guys to guess what apartment I went through with in the comment section, and then if you get it, I'm going to be giving you a sum of 50 Canadian dollars. That's if you guess it right. Okay, so yeah, those are the apartments that I went to view. And another thing I forgot to mention was the apartment had to be in a good location, like a prime location, that's not far from restaurants, supermarket like Walmart or Shoppers Drug Mart. I just wanted something not too crowded, but then I don't have to drive so far before I can get something. Okay, so yeah, I did not talk about the budget. So my budget, I'm currently staying in an apartment that it's 2-1, that's 2,100 Canadian dollars, and parking is included, rent obviously is included, electricity, water, heat, everything was included with 2-1. So my budget right now is still 2-1 and a maximum of 2-3. Okay, now moving on to the tips and tricks. So if you want to go to an apartment, there are certain tips and tricks that you should know. Number one is you should have a good credit history if you want to get the apartment that you want. Okay, good credit history is always good. So even if you're new in the country, I know that can be kind of hard. Maybe I'll do a separate video of how you can get an apartment in Canada if you don't have a credit history or you're a new immigrant. Okay, but if you have been in Canada for a while and you have a good credit history, it's easy for you to get an apartment. Number two, you need to provide proof of income. If you and your friends or you and your spouse both have jobs, you need to provide that, okay, yeah, you are capable of paying. You're not going to be owing the landlord whenever you move in. So you need to provide proof of income. And if you're working, you just need to get like an offer letter, employment confirmation letter from your employer that you're working here. You earn a particular amount of money per year, how many hours you work per week, all those information. Yes, the landlord is going to want to see that. Thirdly, if you really like an apartment and it seems like, people are, so many people want that same apartment, you need to be ready. What I'm trying to say, you need to be ready to pay at least 3 months, because normally you pay 2 months of rent. That is the first and the last month. But you need to also prepare that if you really want an apartment, you need to be ready to drop 3 months rent or 4 months rent so that you get that apartment, you're number one. They'll pick you straight away. So you need to be able to have saved up 3 months or 4 months of what? 3 to 4 months of rent. What is wrong with me? And now we've come to the end of this video, and I want you guys to, if you haven't liked this video yet, make sure you like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe if you want to see this pretty face. So make sure you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment on too, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Toodles!